Okay, so did everybody get the email? Of course. So today's word was meaning, and the last few readings for the end of this Chi node have to do with the way we interpret things. So we had a couple readings that talked about, hide your strength and don't release knowledge to anybody unless it's needed, and then quietly get out of the picture. So you're not just suddenly sucked into something because they know that you know something, right, or whatever. We also had another reading that talked about, how you have strengths and how we interpret that. And so then meaning has a lot of that same thing, because we're moving through spring, and as we move through spring and we're moving from the internal to the external, we're starting to see things again differently. We're seeing it as I can change them, and I can be involved, and I can do these things. And at the same time, you kind of get that interpreted, well, why is that happening? Why did this happen? Why did that happen? And so then we start to question it. And then, it revolves around your beliefs, superstitions, the way you were raised, all that kind of stuff. And so in some ways, the reason for doing either Chi Gung or meditation or prayer chanting or any number of those things that kind of move you to another level is to help you understand that the place you're normally in isn't necessarily the only place, and it isn't necessarily the only perspective. And so if you can separate those two out and start to understand that you've got to let things move as they do in some ways and influence things where you can, we're not really there yet. When summer gets here and everything's pushing along, then you're going to see where it's like, okay, if I touch that, it's going to come back, right? At a later date. I'm starting to see things in a longer timeline. Where in the winter, we're like, if I do this now, I stay warm, And a lot of the a lot of the influences that happen right now are because there is so much food available. There's so many things available. There's so many adventures available. It's just overwhelming. In the wintertime, especially near the end of the wintertime, we're like the last bit of smoked meat and the last bit of canned food into a pot and heat it up and eat it because that's all that's left, And now we're into spring, and it's like the bounty is starting. Yeah, there's already just all this stuff, and we're just, taking in too many things because it's just so great that they're all there, And so we've got to kind of pace ourselves a little bit. So that's kind of the way things are in the reading. The reading specifically talks about a storm taking out a temple, and the parishioners kind of look at the temple and go, oh, holy intervention. Well, not really, it's just a storm, And so we need to kind of take that in stride, and that's this time of year. We just kind of like, okay, well, that's bound to happen. Could we have changed it? But as we move from here into summer, it'll become more prevalent as to the things that we really can change and things that we can influence and the things that are just happening, and they're going to happen, and you can't stop it. It also helps us to understand that if we set something in motion and something later cuts that off, it wasn't our fault and it wasn't intervention, right? It's just, it happened. I've got this long vacation planned, we're packed all of our stuff, we get to the airport and the destination is snowed in. We're not flying out today, right? Why did that happen? Right? So anyway, any questions on that? Any thoughts about that? No? Okay.
It was a good reading.
It was a good reading. It's the last week of readings had a lot of this kind of thinking in it. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to start with the regular Qigong exercises we've been doing. So standing for 3, 3 gates for 3, first moving for 3, and then the second moving 3 in each direction, belt gong 3 in each direction. And then we'll pause for a moment, and then we'll start talking about the moving exercise, expansion and contraction, and and how silk reeling plays into keeping the energy flowing in the body and getting to the extremities, which is one of the things that winter has left behind, is extremities. And so we have to kind of work on making sure that we're getting energy out to the fingertips and to the toes, because that's the time, this is the time of the year you need to make sure it gets there, or summer is going to be a problem. Okay, so everybody's got that? 3, 3, 3, and then 3 in each direction. And then the belt gong, 3 in each direction, and then pause. I know I'm rushing through it, but I want to, get down. All right, so go ahead and relax the body, bend the knees, straighten the lower back, lift up the head and tuck in the chin slightly. Rest the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, just behind the front teeth. Relax the arms at the sides, turn the palms to face each other. Pull the elbows out and back slightly to open the chest and round the arms. Feel the weight of the body sink down to the bottoms of the feet. And feel the breath become long and smooth. Go ahead and take the 3 breaths on your own here for the quiet standing. And when you're ready, 3 gates going. 1, 2, 3, 1st moving gong. 1, 2, 3, and then widen the feet a little bit and bend the knees. 1st moving, or 2nd moving gong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, and then return to the standing position. Belt gong, pick a side. 1, 2, 3, 'Switch sides when you're ready. 1, 2, 3, 'And relax in the standing position for a moment. All right. How was that? Everybody all right with that? Good. Okay, so expansion and contraction follow the body's movements. And so we always talk about how everything is kind of connected in the way that we move. The energy in the body is supporting us, and the chi in nature and the chi in us are connected. And so we kind of try and figure out how that works about this time of the year. And then in summer we're being pushed along, and we don't have much of a choice but to go with it. And so right now what we want to do is really kind of look at the expansion and contraction concept. So when we're doing the standing or the first moving, second moving, when we inhale, we open the body up, right? I'm arching the back, I'm lifting up the head, I'm standing up a little bit more, and I'm opening the chest with the arms. So I'm not really going like this so much as I'm going like this, right? I'm moving my shoulder, and my shoulder is moving my arms, right? So this is the simplest, and so we're going to start there. This is the expansion, and this is the contraction, right? And so when you go to hug somebody, you start with the expansion, and when you meet them, you have a contraction, and then when you open up and let them go, and then you come back to a relaxed position. So this doesn't really change in every move that we do in the Chi Gung exercises. In the Tai Chi, we have complementary exercises where this is an inhale and this is an exhale, but the body doesn't change. Everything else still does the right things. It's only the breath that makes the difference, right? has an opposing exercise. And I said exercise for a reason because it's actually an exercise, right? If I was to squeeze my stomach and inhale, I'm compressing my organs, and you can feel it. It's kind of like you almost have to hold your stomach still when you inhale. And then when I exhale and I expand, I allow myself to open up, everything kind of springs back out again. All the organs kind of spring back out again. Does that make sense? So it's a lot of people kind of, you may not should, it's like, it depends on your exercising routine. Should you do sit-ups? Should you do push-ups? Should you do both? Well, talk to your therapist. The idea being that the breathing exercise is beneficial for things like circulation, digestion, bowel movements, right? So just that kind of exercise can help the body. And so then we do that in Tai Chi. Well, the Tai Chi movements, all that have that expansion and contraction, and then expansion and contraction. And in it, we have body movements that benefit and or mimic martial arts, because that's kind of that style. But if we kind of skip over that for a moment and then start looking at the silk reeling exercises, we're actually using the primary idea of the body's movement is being guided by the chi, or the chi and our intent are working together to move the body. Then you start getting into the whole, well, so if I do this, right, I should feel that energy move someplace. And during the wintertime, it was all here. It was all centralized in the body, and we were doing these little tiny moves that were just stirring all of the chi in the body for circulation, because it's cold out and nothing's moving. So we need to do little exercises. You don't want to do big exercises. You'll get cold. And we don't want to do that. During the summertime, we need to make sure that the circulation is happening, because it's what's cooling the body when it gets hot, right? And so when we talk about silk reeling previously, it's like throwing a frisbee, right? I don't throw a frisbee like this, even though I can. I'm going to throw a frisbee with the whole body. So I want to feel the body's energy moving in order to make it happen, right? We look at that whole flowing feeling, right, where the body starts from the ground and moves up the body. So let's look at that for a moment. We talk about this all the time. Start with this foot, right? I'm not going to have any weight on that foot, and I'm going to take the frisbee hand, which is the opposite hand, and I'm going to push to throw the frisbee, right? And then switch feet. So I'm going to start on this side. I'm going to use the opposite hand. So I get that whole concept of the energy is starting here, and I'm pushing to throw the frisbee. So far, so good? Everybody's kind of got that feeling? Okay, try to do it without moving. Well, without moving that much. Try to do it like I've got my weight here, and I've got a little weight here, and I'm just going to go, right? So I can just kind of sense that whole feeling of the hip is rising up the leg. It's locking into the hip is turning, that's moving the waist, and then the waist, you can feel it kind of come out to the arm. So the idea is more to get the chi to come to here and not just make it this. It's not really so much physical as my intention is to feel the weight of my foot as the chi and lift that up and then bring it out of the body and let it come out to my hand. Right? Seems a little euphoric in ways to get that feeling. But the idea is to think that energy up the body and to think that energy out the arm and to try to get it to feel it at the fingertips. So you can feel that. And it's not instantaneous, it's a wave. And so when you do this, it comes up here a little bit more, and then I roll this and it comes out a little bit more, and then I have to move the hand a little bit and let that energy finish out there. So you can kind of feel the wave come up and out just like we did this, right? Because I didn't do it all at once. I pushed and let it whip, right? Because if I have a whip in my hand and I throw the whip, the end doesn't follow it waits behind and catches up. And so it's kind of that as a wave. So far, so good? Okay.
So far, I don't know how it's so good. It's hard for me to get that.
That's okay.
I'm going and working it out that way.
Okay, so let's go back to one that we know and we can feel more readily, right? The Do Chi exercise, right?
Joe's happy.
We were gonna get to that because this is the time of year we start talking about brushing and the Do Chi and things like that, because it's prominent. Yeah, it's prominent this time of year because the energy is coming out and it's pushing stuff out of the body, and we need to clear them, right? So let's try the Do Chi exercise. So if we're here and I get this bounce going, where's the bounce? Yeah, it's kind of a ball, right? They call it the Chi ball, and it's right here. And I'm going to stand like this, and I want to feel this relax and kind of go, right? Like a rubber band. Boingy, boingy, boingy. Well, when I go, I feel it in my fingertips now, right? Partly due to physics, right? Because I'm going like this, and all the liquid in my arm is going whoop, down to my fingers. But if I just go, I can still feel it. If I don't make this big exaggerated move and I just go, I can feel it go and circulate out to my hands. Can you feel it? Okay. So that's this whole thing, right? It's that same feeling. So if I'm up here and I'm doing the Do Chi exercise, it doesn't change. It's the same real feeling. It doesn't get bigger because I'm traveling a longer distance, right? And so you can almost say that that is intention, right? The Chi is following the intention. Yes and no, right? Part of it's the physics of the body, and part of it's just our use to feeling it this way. Well, so why not? Let's apply intention and see if that helps us to do this frisbee throw kind of thing, right? And so now I want to feel it out here. Right? Is that changing the feeling? Mind you, it's a wave, so you don't just put your hand out and expect it to be there. You put your hand out and all of a sudden it goes, ooh. It follows after about a second. And then, ooh, right? It shows up. Okay? So that's the thing that we want to kind of play with for the next couple of weeks at least, is when we do that, don't be huge, right? It's not summer yet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that intention and that connection and making that thing real, building the confidence between here and here, as it were, that's what we want to work on right now. That's what all the readings have been about. Testing, checking, wondering. How far does it go? What does it mean? Why did that happen? Right? How much should I give? We had that reading too. Right? I did it, and then fade away, right? I made a good impact, and then I'm done. I'm out of here. You know, nobody's going to stop me and go, hey, you know how to do that, would you? You know, it always reminds me of that bumper sticker and T-shirt that says, yes, that's my truck. No, I won't help you move. Because life can be like that, and we just need to know where our boundary is, because there isn't a boundary for them necessarily. So we have to know our boundaries. So this little guided exercise kind of gives you that sensation, and we just need to practice that from time to time over the next couple of weeks, and remind ourselves that is the feeling, it is there, I can make it happen. Done, right? We've made that connection. And then when we start doing the Tai Chi exercises, things start making more sense. Even though the moves may not make a lot of sense, the energy work, the moving of the body starts to feel better. It starts to feel like the energy is actually flowing up and out to the hand. And, okay, then I'm going to leave it there, turn around, I'm going to go on to the next one. So any questions about that idea of the silk reeling and the exercise? Okay, so before we get any further, let's do the brushing exercise. So the 3 primary brushing exercises are the face, the hair, and the skin, right? And so we don't break it down to arms and legs and things like that. In the summer, then arms and legs are separate. They actually do different things. But at this time, energy is rising up everywhere and is pushing out everywhere, and so we feel it everywhere. And so the whole skin surface, you brush the hands, the skin, the legs, right? The whole body. The face is really good, especially this time of year, because with energy rising, a lot of us are getting flush in the face all the time. It's like you wake up in the morning and you feel flush. Okay? You go outside and you do something and then you feel flush. And it's like, what? So the idea is cold water. You think of cold water in your hands and you inhale it up. And then exhale it down. Again, inhale up. Exhale down. One more. Okay? And of course 3 is the favorite number. And so 3 is good, 9 is good, 27, 81, 108 for some reason. So brushing the hair, a lot of men don't recognize this, but women do, because women tend to brush their hair and like to therapy. They like the therapy of sitting there and brushing their hair 100 times and then 100 times, and you just get this nice feeling from it. And guys don't recognize it as often because we don't, we comb the hair out, done, all right, I'm out of here, things to do. So if we brush, this reduces the tension in the scalp. It also reduces the tension that's rising up the back, which interferes with the neck and the head. So we get headache tensions this time of year for no particular reason. We get shoulder tensions this time of year for no particular reason. We get diaphragm, which is right across the bottom of the rhomboids in the scapula, this muscle right here. You get pain along there. That's the diaphragm telling you, hey, there's a lot of energy going on in here. What do I do? And so you got to remember to relax the diaphragm and let the tummy hang out a little bit this time of year, and just let it be okay. We can also do the rib cage, right? This is combing, so you use your fingers and comb the rib cage. And then of course loose fists rub the kidneys, because that's where circulation both begins and ends, is in that area. So anybody know why, or anybody remember why? Directly connected to the lymph system. The kidney, the liver, bladder are all part of the lymph system. Where's the lymph system? The entire body, right. This funny little viscous layer between the skin and the muscles is all part of the lymph system. If you get a lymphoma, which is a cancer of the lymph system, it penetrates the body tonight. You won't be here tomorrow. It's that bad. So this is the lymph system. Brushing that helps to clear blockages and reduce things like lymphoma, oddly enough. And I just had a visit from a good friend of mine who I trained with when we were younger, and his wife. His wife teaches phys ed to kids. She's a teacher for kids. 3 things she talks about all the time. Breathe. Inhale, exhale. Right? Exhale longer than you inhale. Where have we heard that before? Right? Stand up straight and brush the skin. Those are the 3 things that when she's got students and they're all going, it's okay, breathe, stand up, have a good posture, and brush the skin, the whole body. It's very, very beneficial. It's good for circulation, it's good for relaxation, reduces a number of odd things that happen this time of year. We start questioning stuff. We start getting a little concerned or whatever. You know, just brush the skin. Really, just brush the skin a little bit and stop and take a couple of breaths and go, wow. Well, okay, well it's not so bad. Yeah, it's not so bad. Okay. Any last thoughts or questions? Okay. Go ahead, let's do the closing exercise. So go ahead into standing position. Take a couple of breaths there. And then when you're ready, turn the palms out. Inhale, rise up. Take a breath at the heart and lungs. And at the Dan Tian and Ming Men. And bubbling spring points to the bottoms of the feet. And a couple more breaths, just feel the connection between the feet and the ground. And when you're ready, turn the palms out, inhale, rise up. Take a breath at the heart and lungs. And at the Dan Tian and the lung. And the bottom of the feet. And feel the energy connecting up through the legs, through the spine, up to the Bai Hui point on the top of the head where a small plant is blossoming. And when you're ready, palms out, inhale, rise up. Take a breath at the heart and lungs. And at the Dan Tian and Ming Men. And the bubbling spring points, the bottoms of the feet. A couple more breaths. Feel the connection of the body from the earth all the way up through the little plant on the top of the head to the universal chi. All right. Any last thoughts or questions? No? Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day. And we'll see you next week.